All right, so these are a few questions that we've gotten sent in about asking about key questions that you can, I guess, you need to figure out. Now, I'm obviously not as seasoned of a professional as my partner Ben is. I do have some gray hair, but not nearly as much as Ben, nor do I even have the age of his experience in construction. I'm 36, and he has been doing this for 42 years. So I have a lot of great garnering of information and wisdom to extract from just spending a lot of time with him. So the big one is obviously when you're doing a development project, what is the business plan? Like what's the outcome that you're looking for? What signs of success do you have that will point to your project being a success? You want to look at like what is the track record of the people that are making the critical decisions in the deal and giving them feedback on the assessments of the market information, the sales pricing, the cost, the design, the surety of the market, things like that. You want to figure out what is, especially with your construction management and your development management team, what have they been able to do and where are they drawing their experience from? Another one is obviously is when you're looking into the future, is this going to be a rental project? Is it going to pivot to a sale project? Can it pivot? Do you have an ability to do that from the inception? Now you can't just start a strata plan halfway through development that you thought was rental that you're then going to sell, and if you're going to keep it as a strata and it's going to be a rental, it might be a little bit too expensive to keep online for yourself as an investor. So you want to be able to have a clear path mapped out, but you also want to be able to pivot because business is fluid and it flows, and there's always evolutions, iterations that you're going to have to make depending on what happens in the market. Obviously there's things that you can't control, but you need to be able to convince yourself, your partners, your investors that you're going to do everything within your power and within your network's power to be able to make sure the project is going to be successful. And then another one's going to be, who is your target buyer or tenant, and how are you starting to align with them before you even get into the project major costs that you get into for like building permits? Can you build a lead list before you even start? Now, you don't need to employ a realtor; they're great, and you can do a lot of marketing yourself. Don't fall for the thought that you need to be a realtor to sell or lease space. They are great at what they do. They're full-time professionals, and don't underestimate yourself and what you can do. We do a lot of our sales, marketing, and organization structuring and strategies for sales and marketing in-house, and then we deploy very clear strategies and SOPs for people to enact and engage with the market. How are the properties going to be priced? Are they benchmarking off of area prices? Is there a dollar per square foot that you're looking for in a sale price, comp price? Are you looking for rental rates? Are you trying to get $2-3 a square foot of rentable space? So if you have 80% net rentable space inside of a building that's going to produce revenue in a multifamily asset, you build a 100,000 square foot building, 80,000 square feet, right? What can you get for 80,000 square feet in gross rent? What is the marketing plan and the budget and structure for that? How are you engaging and de-risking the deal where you're building a market before you get into it? Because you want to be able to de-risk yourself and create an asymmetrical risk for everybody as soon as possible, and to be able to really create a deal that is going to be bankable from a lender and from an investor, from anybody involved. And we can craft that pitch and you can very clearly articulate what your value proposition is, you will be able to have people who are kicking down your door just to get an opportunity to participate in the deal that you're putting together. The next one is who else is going to be providing sales support or leasing support? Do you have a bench depth? Is it just you? Is it you and a partner? Like our partnerships are 5 to 20 people deep at times, and most of them have some level of equity uptick in it as well. So when the project wins, they win, and it keeps them engaged long term, and it keeps them promoting long term, and it keeps it authentic, and there's a vested interest as opposed to just transactional sales. But who is going to be helping you? You want to be able to figure that out. And what are the terms of your co-marketing agreement? How are people compensated for bringing in value, whether that's sales or relationships or strategic partnerships with supplies or financing? How get it down on paper, make it really clear so everyone's engaged, and be focused on creating high trust relationships outside of work with these people that you're working with, because it takes a lot of time to set that relationship in motion. And if it's very transactional and you're working with new people every project, it just gets really tiring to do. Can you accommodate, to the local licenses for different bylaws? And can your project ideation, can it fit in different municipalities? Can you build it once and get paid forever? Can you build a system in a market? Can you have an idea for a property to go from, site 1 to 2 to 3, can you have some familiarity with the local bylaw structures and see where it might be able to, get approved? Because if you're getting something approved in, in Edmonton, can that fly in Leduc? Can it fly in St. Albert? Right? You got some kind of reference points. Can you really integrate into that? And does your team have those connections that can get to it really, really, really fast with the critical information that's going to be needed, especially about the dirt and the services? Just don't forget about dirt and services, because if you do, you're going to pay for it later, because the day you buy your dirt is the day you make your money. And it's easy to become a millionaire in real estate if you start off as a billionaire. So make sure you got bench depth on that. And then obviously, for some sales and for some capacities, you might actually find a market for offering financing. Now, there might be an avenue that you can carry some of the deal. You can do rent to owns with select people, and you can essentially fill those last suites up if you're unable to sell them, and you can engage with the right people. But it all depends on what kind of asset class you're building. For us, we really like those, C++ or B class assets that are going to have people that are flowing up to them in a booming market and down into them from the A class properties in a downturn. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things in life that are happening, and interest rates and employment and layoffs and people getting fired and companies closing down. All these things are happening. So we park ourselves firmly in the B's, just like my aspirations in high school were to get a B. That's where we stay in our deals, so that we have people coming up into them in a really booming market when people are making more money. And when markets get tough and income gets tougher, they're going to drop out of that A-class rental property for us and move into that B-class property, because many times people will keep the vehicles that they have, especially in Alberta. They will keep the vehicle that they have because that is part of their identity, and they don't want to have people who essentially really don't care about them as much as they think they do. Think less of them because they got rid of their brand new Ford F-150 and they're driving an older one. For me, we drive a 2018 Ford F-150. I've had it since 2017, and I think I've put in a total of about $900 into that truck for a front wheel bearing. And other than tires and oil changes and gas and fluids, I haven't put a penny into it. So dependable vehicles are great. Don't get, tied into anything that you're gonna, be financing yourself way too far out on. And there's nothing wrong with a good Ford F-150 truck. So I would invite you to consider getting one. Although I am going to be getting a Toyota Tundra, because those are great vehicles too, and I do like the look. And yeah, so those are some things to think about of those top 10. So really quickly, I'm just going to scroll and refresh them. So what's the business plan? What's your track record and the team of your track record? Are people going to be able to have clear title to the property? Is it going to be a rental? Is it going to be a strata? What is it going to be? Freehold? Who is your target buyer, and how does your project address their preferences? Are you incorporating the demands of the market, or are you doing what you think you would want to live in and therefore bypassing your buyers? How are the properties going to be priced? Have a pricing structure figured out, a comparables. You need to really focus on creating a value difference of 20 to 30, even 40% between your costs and the value of your unit in the market. It's possible, and it's very probable, actually. In conversations with Ben, he was sharing with me that when he looks at the market and the amount of projects that we have in pricing right now, whether they're our projects or client partner projects with Cormode and Dixon, that the ease of creating a market value between 30 to 40% is something that he hasn't seen as easy to do in 40 years of doing construction management in Western Canada. So that says something for you. Obviously, there's skill sets and long-term wisdom that you don't get if you don't work with great people. Who else is providing the sales support for how you're doing it? Sales and marketing is obviously critically important. What are the terms of your co-marketing agreements, your partnership agreements, especially with realtors and people who are promoting your property, local community stakeholders? How are they going to get compensated? How are you going to put money into their pockets? You need to know that, and they need to know that too. Obviously, with local bylaws, are you familiar with all the local bylaws and zoning restrictions and different things like that? And really get involved into the dirt, the geotech reports, the sewer components in there as well, so that you're actually able to know what are the DCCs, the developers' cash contributions that are going to have to go into the project, about insurance, if you're going to get a DPI policy for if you're going to be doing a pre-sale, and then obviously doing having an avenue that if you needed to carry financing for some of these buyers to get into the units, would you be able to close on rent-to-own units if you needed to be able to have a strategy? So with those things, there are 10, I think, really important things that if you're doing a real estate project and you're trying to figure out how to make sure you're not going to, lose your time, lose your money, or lose your reputation. Those are 10 things that I think would be extremely valuable for you to know. So go do something great and let us know if we can help get you further faster.